Go live.
We are live for You Are Happy.
Yay. Hey, welcome to the You're Happy show. With Melanie Markirka. And this show is a part of the World of Reality Podcast Network. And I encourage everybody to check out all of our social media. And special thanks to Marcus Hart, Jay Stroyan, and Zach Clayton for allowing us to have this on their platforms. And we have a special guest today, Melissa. So I'm going to pass it over to Melanie to get us started.
Perfect. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Melanie, and I'm here. I am your happy girl, and I'm a brand ambassador with Amari Global. And those who don't know Amari Global's mission is to make you love yourself again. So we are a supplement company, but we have supplements that open the gut, brain, heart axis to make you love yourself. When you are bogged down with stress, when you're bogged down with anxiety, when you're having brain fog, when you don't feel like yourself, you're anxious all the time, you don't exactly know where to go when the gut-brain connection does not open up. So the supplements have been wonderful for me, but then there was a part missing. And the part missing for me is that's why I have Melissa here today. So she's an empowerment coach, but she also wants you to love yourself again. So a lot of times when you come out of that brain fog, you don't know where to go. Like you're like, okay, I'm feeling better on the inside. I have more energy. I feel like I can get stuff done, but you get stuck mentally. And then you don't know where to go. The thoughts start racing in your head. You start going in different directions. Sometimes it's negative. And sometimes it's a good place. But Melissa has been amazing. So, as she says, empowerment coach, she wants you to love yourself again, which fits right in with the Amari Global mission. Right? So, Melissa, tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first, thank you guys, all of you, so much for having me. Melanie, for thinking of me. And our missions are very similar, both personally and professionally, I think. So I am a certified empowerment coach. Empowerment coaching is a niche within the life coaching industry. And I focus a lot on emotional, energetic coaching. So there are a lot of different coaches out, a lot of different life coaches. We all tend to have different niches, but for me, I have always been very passionate about, in a way, performance psychology. So I've been coaching people, athletes and women in both fitness industry and beauty industry for my entire career, working career. And what I've always found is that performance can be based on physical healing, psychological healing, emotional, spiritual healing, all of those aspects get brought in for us to have an overall positive outlook on life. And some types of coaching focuses just on attitude, mindset, behavior, whereas empowerment coaching works on digging into what could be a root cause of the unhappiness, which some people are not even aware of. So for me, it's a joy to help people dig into their stories, to get to know people's stories, and to help them literally get, I'm so glad you used the word, Melanie, stuck, because we can all get stuck at different times in our life, or stuck with different thoughts, or stuck wanting to make progress, but not knowing why we can't. And oftentimes that's due to an unhealed wound, or just something in our life that we don't even realize is getting us stuck. So my job is to help us figure that out. And I love what you said about the Amari products, which can help lift that brain fog. And that is an amazing thing. And once our brain is active and moving, it is easy to get stuck sometimes, even in great, positive, exciting thoughts, but not necessarily ready to take proper actions or where we want to go. Or sometimes we get so open in our mindset that we see some of our challenges, and that can get us stuck. So that's really my job as an empowerment coach, is to help us process through whatever emotions we're feeling, figure out where they came from so that we actually can rationalize mentally and emotionally feel where those things are coming from so that we can move forward and progress towards whatever goals and aspirations that we have.
And you said something there too. When you hire an empowerment coach, it's okay to be emotional.
Oh my gosh, we are emotional beings. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's okay to feel those feelings and to allow yourself to feel those feelings. Because I know we're both about the same age, but our generation was taught a lot of times not to show emotions.
Correct.
You don't cry. You suck it up. You know, you push those emotions down. But
Correct.
that's where I feel like I got the most stuck because I didn't know how to express my emotions then. So
Absolutely.
how do you help somebody when they do feel stuck? Because peeling the onion, the layers of the onion, it can be painful, but not feeling bad about yourself because of it.
Correct. Well, I think there is a lot of stigma to different emotions. I'll give you an example. For instance, the emotion of anger, especially for females, women. That's one that we're often taught isn't a pretty emotion. We're taught to compartmentalize. And many styles of coaching are, compartmentalization of things is an incredibly important skill set to have in life, because there are times and places to be able to cope with things differently. However, if we never, like you said, if we never cope with an emotion, it will always come back up. The things that and our emotions are literally housed inside of our body energetically. So when we start to have emotions that get expressed, if we don't know how to both let them out, express them, and position them properly. I don't say control them, because we don't need to control our emotions. We are, like you said, completely meant to experience and express our emotions. But we don't have to feel bad about doing that. I think we have to overcome the stigma that certain emotions are good and certain emotions are bad. Joy is good, anger is bad. Not true. An emotion is just something for us to observe. It's a key to how we are feeling. And when we, for instance, are feeling angry, we should be asking ourselves a question. Okay, why is that triggering me? Why am I feeling upset? Where is this coming from? Has someone victimized me in some way through this conversation or through something that has happened? And we can start to assess kind of the root cause and where that emotion is coming from. And is that emotion right now, real time, actually appropriate for what's going on? Or is that emotion being triggered from something else that has happened outside? And when we can ask ourselves those questions, be an observer of our emotion instead of just an expressor of emotion, we can understand why and how to utilize that information to help ourselves with our self confidence or esteem, or how we feel about ourselves. And we can also use it to positively affect the relationships we're in via our communication with others. Does that make sense?
It does, because, and I wrote some things down here. So what I was always told is just breathe. Well, just breathing, I don't know about you, but it doesn't always help me. And sometimes just breathing actually gets me to more of an angry place than it gets me to a place where I'm okay with myself. Can you explain why maybe the just breathe?
Sure.
I see you smiling, because I've been told that a lot. Just breathe.
I love that, because it's more than just breathe. And sometimes when somebody says just breathe, just relax, like that can trigger emotion as well. The true purpose of breathing, I'm also a yoga teacher and a physiologist by degree. So I love that you asked this question about breathing, because the purpose of breathing and nothing else, as I teach in yoga as well, it's a it changes your physiological response. When you take a deep breath, it can literally slow the blood circulation. It slows the heart rate. it allows you to come to a place where physiologically the body can calm down and relax. But the purpose isn't just the breathing. The breathing is the mechanism for us to come to a place where we're able to self-assess, where we're able to see an objective reason for why we are feeling the emotion. So the breath is a very natural thing that we kind of mess up sometimes by not having an awareness of the purpose of the mechanism. To take in more oxygen is important, but just breathing itself does not exactly, just the breathing itself doesn't technically help anything. But to take that breath is to give ourselves, hey, I need to calm down for a minute. Let me take a deep breath. And sometimes we lose the intention. We forget the purpose. So we just teach to just breathe, but not the reason why. The reason why is the breath physiologically can change the moment of intensity so that we can go ahead and now actually observe and start to use information on how we're feeling and why, so that we can actually move forward with the experience of that emotion. So it's not just the breath that helps, but it is a means in which we can center ourselves and then work on whatever emotion. So does that make, it's like a double-edged sword, but to
It
just
does.
breathe
Yep.
does nothing itself. But the mechanism of the breath produces a physiological response so that we can more mentally process what we're going through.
So you actually show people like when you're in a chaotic setting. So such as my breath work is a lot different when I'm in a calm setting, a darker room where I could be by myself. But there's sometimes, when you're in a very chaotic setting, that you need to use your breath too.
Yeah, absolutely. In a more stressful setting, we have a physiological stress response. It elevates the heart rate. And color does that. Every bit of our surrounding affects us. And that's why I speak on, and which I love the modality of empowerment coaching, because it's emotional energetic. We have to understand when we walk into a stressful room, have we ever walked into a room? Have you ever walked into a room when people have been arguing? You can kind of feel it. There's a blockage. There's something that happens to us physiologically. We go into a little bit of fear mode. What's going on? We need to protect. We can feel that. That's an energetic response. The same thing can happen. This is why we try to use blue light for calming and red light for excitement. There's energy and frequency behind every stimulus that we have. So energy is just as important for us to be able to know we have, understand, and manipulate. And breathing is a great way to do that, to affect our energy. But it has to be with intention. Again, if you don't know why you're breathing, and it's become very cliche for us to just say, take 10 deep breaths and you'll feel better.
Mhm.
Yeah, not so. You can take 10 long, fast, quick breaths. You can take slow breaths, but really not utilize the time you're breathing to try to connect to yourself. And that's not going to help you in whatever situation you're in. But to understand why you're breathing, how to breathe, be aware of your breath. That's what actually brings us to an internal environment, which is physiologically more capable of processing information.
Right. And you also mentioned color.
Yeah.
Just color. So you mentioned going into a room, because I sometimes notice I do a lot of networking, as you know, and I'll go into a room and I'll sense the energy right away. And it actually makes me either stumble on my words. It'll make me nervous. It'll make me not get my point across sometimes, just because of the energies there. But you mentioned colors we should be aware of as well.
Yeah.
Can you expand? Because it was can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I've always been very interested in complementary therapies and both Western and Eastern medicine and different philosophies of healing. So, for instance, aromatherapy is all about, the sense of smell. Color therapy, there's color therapy and light therapy, which are therapeutic modalities that can be used to help with stress, anxiety, depression management as well. So all of the elements can be used. So when it comes to color, we in our Western medicine, we don't talk about this stuff a whole lot because we typically treat, physical ailments, for instance, with, physical medicine. Or, if our knee hurts, we go to the orthopedic doctor. If we're having trouble mentally, we go to a psychologist. If we are having a conflict about our faith, we go to our church or to a religious, and that's typically what we do. We in Western culture have compartmentalized our body from our mind, from our spirit. But things like color therapy and aromatherapy and a lot of different nutritional therapy, all those affect the entire being of someone. So color is always very interesting to me. If I want to chill out and calm down, I'll, like you said, bring the lights down low. I'll put pleasing colors for me, and everybody's attracted to different things. But there is a lot to be said for the frequency and the vibration of what certain colors resonate. Same thing as different elements in the world, like trees resonate at different, at different frequencies than, humans, and water, and, all of the different elements. There's so much to learn. I'm not an expert in all of it, but it all affects us emotionally and physiologically. So,
But it can trigger too, right? Because that's what I kind of got from you is
surely,
even if like there's somebody's wearing a color,
yeah,
you
will
don't
feel
know, and then
you'll feel a
yeah.
different way. Certain colors are soothing to
But
you.
and that's how you kind of come handy because you can make them aware
Correct.
of stuff that like different triggers that are going on around you, and to maybe not react to them as well. Because I know I've reacted to things in the past that I probably shouldn't have, right? But then come to find out that it was a trigger. It was either a trigger from my past, or somebody was wearing a certain scent, a certain smell that's gotten me before. Or
Right.
even as you just brought up, a certain color that you're not aware of. Then all of a sudden you walk away like, why did I react like that?
Right. Or what is just learning what is pleasing or not. Even when if we want to talk color, even just going to the store and buying a new shirt, why do we pick a certain color versus another? Because energetically we're attracted to a certain thing. Like, I don't love greens, I love blues. And there's a lot to be said for living a life where you feel attracted to something. We want to be able to push ourselves out of our own boxes and out of our own heads and learn and grow more. But at the same time, to have peace, we also need to surround ourselves with stimuli that are soothing to us and that are important and we are attracted to. And so color affects us just like anything else, or can trigger us just like anything else.
Well, you mentioned that they going into the store. That's funny because some days, like, green is a cool color, and you get green, and then next time you walk in, you're like, oh, I don't want green, I want blue, but I want this color blue. So
Right.
yeah, and
Well, those are all our emotions. That's all about energy and emotions. What kind of mood are we in?
mind you, the mood rings. Remember the mood rings
Yes.
back in the 80s that we all wore? Uh-huh.
Even though the way those things work is related to like the temperature of your hand. That ring is on your hand, and your body has a certain body temperature, and our body temperature slightly changes. It remains pretty much at 98.6, but it can fluctuate a little higher and low based on how our physiological response is. Is our blood pressure elevated? Are we heightened? Is that because we're in anger, or we're in worry, or we're in concern? Or is that change color because our body temperature is lower and lighter because we're calmer? And so the elements we affect the elements affect us. And all of that affects our emotions and how we manage them.
But your hand turning green was nothing to do.
Probably just a chemistry issue with whatever element is on your skin.
Remember we used to get that cheap nickel that would go, on. So, and you also mentioned nutrition, which brings us right back kind of to Amari and different stuff. Because with nutrition, it can affect your anxiety, it can affect your stress levels, it can affect your serotonin, dopamine, endorphins. It can affect so many different things. So I always use the example of if you go out drinking the night before, you know, and then the next day you do not feel emotionally stable. That has a lot to do with the chemistry that's going on between your gut and the brain
Sure.
that cannot communicate and cannot talk. And one thing that I love that attracted me to Amari Global is that they don't just use, you said, Western medicine. So they're not just using the stuff that's available to us in the United States. They're not just going to a lab and recreating it. They're actually going over to Africa and to India and to these different countries to where they test for heavy metals, impurities, all kinds of different things. Then once the plants meet, or roots meet the standards, they secure to land and paying fair wages.
Excellent.
So using different nutritional modalities when you're going through this, because sometimes it's not just as easy as breathing. It's not just as easy as, the color. It's not just as easy as, which I have learned, because I use all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, we're complex beings. I mean, we're the most complex beings on the planet, with the way our brain works. We only know a fraction in science of how the brain even works. I mean, nutritional science, because everything we intake affects our physiology. What the old adage, you are what you eat, is completely cellularly true. What we take in enters this physical body. It becomes part of the body's functioning and process. And what goes out of the body is important as well, and is affected by what has come in before. And that's not just physically, but that's emotionally, spiritually. Nutrition is we can't live without water and food. I mean, it's the most important element for us to stay alive physically, and does completely affect us emotionally as well through our hormones, like you mentioned, your serotonin levels, and all of our hormones are affected by our nutritional intake. So
well, again, look at the difference when we were children. Candy and soda was a treat to us.
Yeah.
Wasn't something that was readily available. It was something that you maybe had a piece of candy because, you got the nickel and the penny candies. And then, soda, I would that was a real treat if I got to have a whole soda. But it was a treat if I got to sip out of my dad's
making me drink my water. You're talking about that.
What was a treat too, and that's what I tell my kids. I'm like, just because it's readily available doesn't mean that you should have it all the time. Such as he had a great soccer game. He hit a goal that we've been working on. So he got candy and his face just lit up and he asked me why. Because it's a treat. It's okay to reward yourself.
Yes, definitely.
With that stuff. So yeah. How can we get a hold of you if we would like to do some coaching? Or I know you also have discovery calls available. So would you like to tell us about that?
I do. So as far as my empowerment coaching services, I do one-on-one coaching via Zoom. So I can work with people all over the country or internationally. My website is called, my company name is All of the Above LLC. My website name is www.bealloftheabove.com, all spelled out. Bealloftheabove.com.
Is it BE all of the above or just B?
Yep.
Okay.
Regular English. Bealloftheabove.com, because we are all things. We are not just one thing. We are all of the above, kind of like what we've been talking about. That's my entire philosophy of coaching and of reality. So bealloftheabove.com is my website. You'll see information about my one-on-one empowerment coaching. And I do offer free complimentary discovery session. So if someone is feeling stuck or feeling like they want to make some progress in their life and not sure about how to go about it, perhaps they've had some kind of emotional or even physical injury that's creating a disconnect between where we want to go and where we are, or maybe we need some healing from something we've been through, a life change, a shift, a new phase of life. That's all what empowerment coaching can do. And so you'll read about that on my website. You can schedule a discovery session with me at any time. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and social media as well. And I actually do have a new self-love book that has come out with a crazy name. But it is called, it's about, the book is all about learning to love all the dichotomies of you and all the different aspects of your being and how we approach different things. The name of the book is called actually My Vibrator and My Rosary, seeming opposite symbols or representations in life sometimes, but the book is all about learning to love all the different pieces of you, all the different parts of you, because in order to have self-love, we need to appreciate the fact that sometimes we can have anger and sometimes we can have peace and sometimes we can have joy. Sometimes we feel great and sometimes we feel happy and sometimes we feel sad and sometimes we react well and sometimes we don't. And all those different ways that we learn to love ourselves are the true key to happiness. We can have great nutrition and we can have great counsel and we can have great opportunity, but happiness and joy really truly comes from within, from a place of loving all the aspects of our being, the things that are seemingly the great parts of our being and the other parts that maybe aren't so pleasing. And we need to remember all of that. So welcome to go to my website, thealloftheabove.com. Learn more about self-love, self-appreciation, learn about empowerment coaching. Would love to hear from anybody.
Yay. And thank you so much for being on today. So appreciate you. I love every minute that we get to spend together because we don't get to do it as often as we should.
I know.
And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Melanie. It makes my heart happy. You brought the happy girl has brought me happy.
Happy girl brought you happy. That's my whole mission. Right. Well, thank you so much. And until we meet again, and let's do some lunch.
God bless.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Good job.
Hey,
So
we're still
great
live.
with this.